The feeling of abandonment can be really hard to cope with as well as understand, but authors like Angela Johnson make it easy to explain the hopeless feeling of abandonment as she portrays it in her book, Bird. So the book I'm reading is basically called Bird. It's by Angela Johnson. And Angela Johnson's literary works are mostly based off of like common childhood experiences and themes. So, for example, she writes a lot about African American families, love, etc. And this is one of her many books that she has portrayed. That Angela Johnson also kind of incorporates her own childhood into her work. So it's really cool to see how it kind of goes hand in hand with each other like that. So to start with the book, summarizing it, Bird is basically a runaway child. She ran away from her home in Cleveland, and she lived with her mother and her stepfather. Her stepfather basically ran away, and he did not ran away, but he basically kind of abandoned Bird and her mother. So ever since then, since Bird has experienced the loss of her father, Cecile was kind of like that father figure for her. So, you know, him losing her, kind of, she felt abandoned. It was kind of like a horrible feeling for her to go through, especially at such a young age. She ran away from home in Cleveland and is trying to find her stepfather, whose name is Cecile. And he left without even saying goodbye. So that must have hurt her way more than what she could possibly imagine that he'd ever do to her. She follows him all the way from Cleveland to Alabama, where he would go visit some family. I'm not going to spoil it. So she travels from Cleveland to Alabama in hopes of bringing him home. Along the way, she does meet two young boys, Ethan and Jay. They're also two main characters in the book. So Ethan, I'm going to have to spoil it a little bit, but Ethan is Cecile's nephew. Bird doesn't know that because they don't really know their connection. Ethan and Bird don't really know their connection with each other and Cecile as well just yet. So throughout the book, it kind of dives deeper into their connection with Cecile, and you know how they were once both kind of like going through the same experiences and whatever. I'm trying not to spoil it as much as I can. It's very interesting to see everything go down. So another thing about the other character, Jay, he is a 14-year-old boy, and he basically is dealing with the loss of his brother, Derek. So his older brother, Derek, had passed from a brain aneurysm, and he had given his heart to Ethan, basically. But Ethan and Jay aren't really close like that, but Jay knows that Ethan has his brother Derek's heart. He is, you know, really struggling really bad with the loss of his brother. He hasn't cleaned his brother's side of the room. He still leaves things untouched, and just basically goes through this whole grieving process that normal people would. Another thing, moving on from that, I really like the structure of the book, as each chapter is basically a different character's perspective. Like, for example, in the first chapter, it starts out, of course, with Bird and as to why she left from home. And then, like, another chapter, it says the title of the kid's name that's talking, which is like Ethan. And then the next chapter will be like Jay. At first, it was kind of confusing. I was like, what do these names mean? It kind of feels like, why is Bird first at this place? But then you realize this is a whole different person. So it's really cool. So yeah, that's basically it. To give more background on the characters, Bird is a 13-year-old girl. She's black. She's the main character, but Ethan is also kind of a main character as well. He's a young boy who has a heart transplant and is recovering it really well. He's usually sick and lonely, so they emphasize that a lot throughout the book. Jay is a 14-year-old boy. He has a friend named Googie. They do get in a lot of trouble. That's another thing. And his brother Derek passed from a brain aneurysm. And as I stated before, Ethan does have his heart. So, let me see. My impression of the book. I think it was really good. It's really interesting, no matter what age group to kind of read. And it displays the feelings of abandonment and like that loneliness that you feel after maybe losing someone or somebody leaving you or breaking a bond with someone that you just never even expected to break with. A lot of people can, relate to that, especially like teenagers and other groups of people. It really shows the struggles that different teens may go through and different children go through. and it shows the more rough childhood experiences that a lot of children have to go through on a daily basis. And it's sad, but it's the truth. Which is why I like that Angela Johnson didn't really hold back on a lot of those themes and experiences. And I don't really see the type of structure that Angela did as well in the book, like every chapter being like a different character's kind of voice, and I think that's pretty cool because I don't see that a lot of books in a lot of books. But other than the plot twist and like the way that the book ends and the different phases that all the characters go through, I really like the way the author designs her work in this book, and it just shows like a very overall it shows a really like surreal theme in the book. But I did do a one-pager on it. In my one-pager, I just did the title in the middle. I kind of based it off the cover right here. I did do the psychoanalysis theory. Coincidentally, my quotes do have to do with psychoanalysis, so in my theory, but I did do the theme of abandonment, put it on the leaf, and my two literary devices are jargon and foreshadowing. But to kind of read my quotes, one of the quotes says, "What if I ran crying into his arms and begged him to come back to Ohio with me, and he just shook his head and sent me home without him?" Johnson 74. So another one said, "But for now, everything can stay just like Derek left it." This is Jay's quote. For this last quote, it says, "Uncle CL never says goodbye." I don't remember one time we ever hugged him and said goodbye. This is Ethan's quote about Cecile, basically, and it kind of touches lightly on abandonment in the theme. Right here is Bird. She usually is described as having like unkept hair. She's 13 years old. She's African American. She's usually barefoot or wears tennis shoes, and hygiene is not the best. But overall, that kind of sums up my one pager. I kind of just trying to show it, but this is so it's just not too much, but not too little. But that's it.